I believe that Donald Trump is the main barrier preventing tyranny in America. Friends, welcome to our second podcast on the Patriot Network. This is David Schnitker, your co-host for today's program. Thanks for joining us. If you tuned into our first Patriot Network podcast, you know that the purpose of these special programs, which will air throughout the 2020 election season, is to inform, encourage, and motivate you to become part of the 5 million strong army of volunteers who are on Team Trump. We want to inform and motivate patriots across America to wage an informational and activist crusade for the very survival of our constitutional republic. We are working together to re-elect Donald J. Trump so he can continue to drain the swamp and keep America great. We will also be providing information about pro-Trump congressional candidates who will take back the House and keep the Senate on Team Trump. I have enlisted in this effort the assistance of a man I have known for many years and for whom I have the utmost respect. This man is an American military veteran. He is a family man with a beautiful wife and 2 lovely daughters. He is a business owner. He is also a politically involved patriot who lives in the failed socialist state of California, but who is unwavering in support of the America First policies of President Donald J. Trump. I have literally known this patriot my entire life. He is not the brother of another mother. He is the brother of my mother. He is my big brother, Richard Schnitker. Richard, welcome back to the Patriot Network.
Glad to be back, David. It's an exciting morning. I just got back from the Capitol, Sacramento State Capitol, for a protest, AB 5, where the state is trying to crack down on more of the self-employed, self-contractors. Chasing more business out of California.
So the California Democrat majority in Sacramento is determined to utterly destroy California's economy, isn't it?
It is. It's almost impossible to work here anymore as a self-employed businessman or a contractor, and it was a good protest. I was surprised how many Hollywood stars were actually there. So it looks like we've got some of the left on our side.
Well, that's great. Well, if things get bad enough, some of them might actually get converted to capitalism.
That's true. We actually had one of them at the end of his speech said, "Let's make California great again." So maybe we have a Trumper.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, Richard, I understand that you have developed a Facebook page that will also assist us in this effort to support Trump during this 2020 election year. Remind our readers about the name of your Facebook page.
It's the Patriot Nation.
All right, the Patriot Nation. That's a Facebook page where people can go. And what kind of things do you post on the Patriot Nation?
I try to keep it to short videos, things that you'll never see on the major media. Nothing more than 2 or 3 minutes long, but it gets to the point. And seems to be the Facebook page seems to be growing with followers.
Well, that's great. Well, listeners, let me encourage you to go to the Patriot Nation Facebook page. Inform yourself via these videos. Leave your comments. Certainly put your like on the Facebook page. And spread it as well. Spread the link to other patriotic friends.
Well, share the articles. Share the videos.
Absolutely. Well, today we're going to talk about the resistance movement that began the day Donald Trump was elected president and began to show itself the day after the inauguration. We're going to talk about what the resistance movement has done, who is financing and organizing it, and what they are planning to do in the future. Perhaps some of you as listeners have heard about the resistance. Anti-Trumpers will often use the phrase the resistance, I guess, to make themselves feel good, like they're fighting some kind of a foreign army, like Hitler's occupation of France. Nevertheless,
like they're patriots,
right? Like they're the patriots, and we're the rebels, and they are resisting the Donald Trump tyranny.
Tyranny, right?
So it is the resistance movement. So we want to talk about the resistance today, what it really is, who's really behind it, and what they're planning to do, particularly if Donald Trump is not reelected. So let's begin with the first question, Richard. What has the resistance movement done so far during the Trump presidency?
Well, this is a little known that the day that after Hillary had lost, she had sent out an email to all of her campaign headquarters to all the different states and cities across the United States. For these people, don't cancel your reservations. Come to Washington, D.C. anyway. Even though she wasn't the president and it wasn't her inauguration, it was going to be the Women's March. So this was all orchestrated. Hundreds, thousands, some say almost 1 million people in the Women's March. These were all her campaign workers all across the United States. They already had their plane reservations. They already had their hotel reservations. They came to Washington, D.C. to make a statement. There was no grassroots effort. This was all orchestrated by Hillary Clinton. And to show that, the next day when she came out, after she wouldn't come out on the night of the election, her and Bill came out in purple. The purple, the color of resistance. And that's when the emails went out.
So the day after she lost, she began the resistance movement. And
exactly.
And many can remember the day after the inauguration, we had the famous Women's March. It was also known as the Pussy March. We won't go into that. But they had their little pink pussy hats. And they had
their knitting parties all across the United States, preparing for
in preparation. There's nothing grassroots about it. This was all Hillary organized, probably Hillary financed. They had a stage up, and they had some has-been Hollywood actresses up there making some very profane remarks, threatening to blow up the White House, etc. So that was really the launch of the resistance movement, the day after Trump was inaugurated as our president.
Exactly. It started the day after by the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC.
Well, that kind of bridges
the resist movement.
And it has continued. For example, we have Antifa, who've been very active. Anytime you have pro-Trump marches, particularly on the West Coast, Antifa shows up in force to beat up women and children, usually. They usually run when the Proud Boys show up, but it's little known, but Antifa is not grassroots either. It is primarily financed by George Soros and perhaps others. So who are some of when we talk about the financing and organizing of the resistance, what are your hunches in terms of where's the money coming from for this ongoing resistance movement?
Well, I'm pretty sure that George Soros has a big amount of the financing. One thing I've noticed that with the Women's March, the Kavanaugh hearing protest, the Antifa movement, you always see people in these lime green baseball caps, usually women. A lot of them are Asian, which I haven't figured that out yet. But they're at all these events. They call themselves the Lawyers Guild. I don't know who they're financed through. Probably another George Soros. But at the Antifa events, you'll see them scattered through the crowd, and as soon as the police start to make arrest on one of the Antifas, they immediately start filming, hand their business card to the person getting arrested, and then they immediately go to the jail and bail these people out. I don't know where this money's coming from besides George Soros. I'm sure there's a lot of money being funneled into them by different organizations. Same thing at the Women's March. You see these lime green hats, through the crowd. They're usually the ones that if the conservative media starts talking to any of the protesters, these are the people that will pull the protesters away from the media.
So these are not, organizers and handlers, basically.
Yeah, these are organizers and handlers. I've actually seen them in Mexico, helping the immigrants, giving them cheat sheets, I guess you'd call it, on what to say to claim amnesty when they come to the border crossings. So, that's an organized group. They call themselves the Lawyers Guild, but they're at every protest, at all the immigration border checks, border protests. But they're an organized part of the resistance.
You know, this resistance has so many different tentacles. It's kind of like an octopus. You mentioned the Kavanaugh hearings, and we, of course, had very vocal protesters in the gallery during the Kavanaugh hearing. And
correct.
I saw a video.
That was organized by Corbin Trent, that used to be part of Justice Democrats. He was filmed handing out money out of a bag to what turned out to be protesters that were in the Kavanaugh hearing. One of them that brings to my mind, it was a woman with a black and white spotted dress, and they were handing her hands full of cash. She was one of the first protesters, but she was wheeled out in a wheelchair. She wasn't in a wheelchair when Corbin Trent was handing her the money, though.
So these
were all paid. She
was an actress. She was paid to act like she was in a wheelchair, so that I guess she could get more sympathy.
A little more sympathy, right. And finally, somebody did confront Corbin Trent about it, and he said, "Oh no, we were just paying them for their travel expenses to come to the city."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and handfuls of hundreds. But that was all completely organized.
Yes. So what is being portrayed as a grassroots movement is actually AstroTurf. That's it's paid by perhaps wealthy people like George Soros and other anti-American individuals and organizations like Justice Democrats. Say a word or two about the Justice Democrats and the role they had in electing the Squad.
Well, the Justice Democrats, which is also was Corbin Trent, was funded by George Soros, where I think they started off with 2,000 applicants. This is I call it a game show, because you were nominated by a friend. You didn't nominate yourself. So your friend would nominate you, and then you would go into not a rehearsal, but an audition.
Audition? Okay.
Yes, an audition, and they would see if you were likable, if you were the type of person that other people would like, that could relate to, had a personality. So most of these people are dead brain morons. They're puppets. So they ended up, out of the 2,000 applicants that they interviewed, about 70 people ran in primaries all across the country. I think there was 20 of them. I'm not positive on the number. Around 20 of them actually won the primaries and went on to the general election. That's where AOC and the Squad, all the four women in the Squad were all Justice Democrats.
So they're all Justice Democrats, funded, auditioned, managed, handled, financed by the Justice Democrat movement, the Soros money. And
right. I also have a video on my YouTube channel, also the Patriot Nation, and my Facebook page, that these people were so proud of themselves. The Justice Democrats were so proud of themselves after getting these people elected. They just couldn't help themselves. They had to tell the world. So they were telling about how they did all this, and they told the whole story. Well, yes, this was a game show, and basically that's after that, Corbin Trent left. AOC, one of the founders of the Justice Democrats, ended up becoming AOC's campaign manager, and I think she was also working for her in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
He ended up getting busted for funneling $3 million into some personal accounts, so he had to leave her office, and he's back at Justice Democrats again.
These people
also, Corbin Trent,
yes.
another Project Veritas video busted him back in 2016. He was being paid by Hillary Clinton and the DNC to pay people to disrupt the Trump rallies. They would be dressed as Trump supporters with the Trump gear, Trump hat, and then they would go in there and start fights. So
he would show up. He would show up with his bag of money to pay these provocateurs.
Yeah, that were dressed in the Trump gear. So he's been around for a while. He's been in two different Project Veritas videos, and also with tied to Justice Democrats.
Well, Richard, we're going to take a quick time out now to hear from today's sponsor. We have been producing weekly video podcasts for almost 4 years now, thanks to your generous support. And while that support is still vital, the Lord has provided a commercial sponsor to pick up some of those costs. Our new sponsor is Jingos. Jingos is an ultra stain remover and odor eliminator. It attacks organic stains and odors. It is environmentally and user-friendly. One satisfied customer writes, "What do you do when your dog gets sprayed by a skunk and you let her back in the house not realizing that's what happened? Jingos to the rescue. My entire house smelled like skunk, and that smell just lingered. I sprayed Jingos throughout the house. I made sure to spray the carpeting and furniture too. Jingos was amazing. I wore my Fitbit when I cleaned the dog up. Guess what? It smelled like a skunk too. How do you get that smell out of an expensive electronic? Jingos did the job. I highly recommend this product." That's from Gail R. from Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. Thank you, Gail. And please stay tuned now for more details.
By Jingos, it's amazingly fresh and clean out here in beautiful New Zealand. G'day America, I'm Tarby, and I want to tell you about my new ultimate stain and odour remover, Jingos. My Jingos gunk gobblers will tackle stubborn organic stains and eliminate nasty stinking odours at the same time. Jingos effectively removes those little accidents like wine, coffee, dirt, blood, grass, even pet stains, and odours like fish, garlic, even skunk. Jingos is environmentally friendly, safe for use on fabrics, carpet, upholstery, and it works great as a laundry pre-soak on the worst pet or people accidents. Come on America, what are you waiting for? Just go online and order your Jingos for $12.95 and get a 4-ounce travel pack free. Crikey, pay $19.95 and I'll double your order. That's 2 large Jingos and 2 travel packs for just $19.95. Blasted seagulls, where's my Jingos?
Welcome back. We have been talking with Richard Schnitker, U.S. military veteran and conservative political activist in the left coast state of California. We've been talking today about the resistance movement, what they have done, who finances them, and who organizes them. We're going to move to the third aspect of our discussion today, and that is this. What are they planning to do? What is the resistance planning to do in the future, particularly if Donald Trump is reelected? I think you'll find this very interesting, friends. Richard, what do you have to say about that? What are they planning to do?
Well, there's a couple different groups that I follow. There's, of course, the Resist. Then there's BAM out of Berkeley. There's RevCon, Revolutionary Communist Organization. I get emails from them periodically. Their latest email, all 3 of them are carbon copies. If Trump wins in November, they're going to take it to the street with violence. They're going to burn the whole thing down.
So they're openly threatening revolution against America.
Yes, they are. Yeah, all the resist groups are basically they can't win, so they're going to burn it down.
Wow.
I think there was Project Veritas that caught a few people not too long ago that were working for the Bernie campaign that were pretty much saying the same thing.
Yes. In fact, I have a recent article from the Washington Times dated January 21st entitled "Guillotine the Rich. Sanders staffer says he's ready for armed revolution." And let me just quote from the article. Project Veritas has apparently snared another pro-Soviet, pro-Gulag Bernie Sanders campaign staffer. This one saying in a hidden camera video released Tuesday that he was ready to get armed for the revolution and was musing about sending Republicans to re-education camps. The footage featured a man identified as a paid South Carolina field organizer, Martin Weisgerber. It was posted a week after the release of video featuring radical Iowa field organizer Kyle Jurek, part of the Undercover Journalism's Expose 2020 series. Boy, I'm so grateful for the work of Project Veritas here. In this latest release, undercover video with this Bernie Sanders staffer, Mr. Weisgerber described himself as a communist and said that he was in contact with groups that plan to hold mass Yellow Vest protests like those that have roiled France if Mr. Sanders loses. He said, "I'm already on Twitter following numerous groups around the country that are ready to organize Yellow Vest protests," he said over a beer at a restaurant. "I mean, I'm ready. I'm ready to start tearing bricks up and start fighting. I'm no capitalist, bro. I'll straight up get armed. I want to learn how to shoot and go train. I'm ready for the effing revolution, bro." And then he added, "I'm telling you, guillotine the rich." So this is the quality of Bernie Sanders staffers. This is what they are saying behind the scenes. If Bernie Sanders gets robbed again, you remember that Hillary robbed him in 2016 at the rigged DNC convention. And his staffers are basically saying, if Sanders gets robbed again, we're going to start on a killing rampage. We're going to put Republicans in re-education camps. They're interesting,
and they are going to arm themselves with AK-47s and get lessons.
That's right.
On how to.
Interesting.
These people are insane.
These are anti-gunners. These are the first ones to line up to take guns away from conservatives. But boy, they're pissed enough now. They're going to go out and get training, and they're going to find out. They're going to find out how to use weapons.
Right. We're anti-Second Amendment, but what we need them.
It's fun.
So, it'll last about 15 minutes.
Yeah, but I think it is.
Yeah, all the groups. It's the Bernie Sanders people, which is I think it's going to split the party wide open. They're going to lose millions of votes because they're going to do the same thing to Bernie as they did last time. They're already attacking him.
Oh, yeah.
And then the resist groups, the RevCon, the Resist, the BAM, those radical groups, a lot of them on the left coast, they're planning the same thing. If Trump wins, they can't own it, so let's just burn it all down.
So do you think that with the amount of anger within the Bernie camp, that if they get messed around, or if they get the nomination stolen from them again by the Democrats, do you think they might start the violence early? Maybe at the DNC convention?
I think they'll start it at the convention. Oh yes, I think they'll start at the convention. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
they aren't going to sit back or walk out like they did last time. No, they'll take it to the streets right there.
Right. I think
so. It's going to be an interesting summer.
Well, I just hope the security. I just hope they have plenty of security at the DNC convention. You remember last year, of course, they walked out en masse. They were hanging Hillary Clinton in effigy outside the convention center. The DNC actually had to hire people to sit in the empty chairs at the convention hall?
Right, I remember that. They had to hire people. They had an ad in Craigslist to sit in the convention halls to take up the empty seats where the Bernie supporters were going to be.
Right. And I think you're right. I don't think the Sanders people are going to put up with it a second time, and it does look like the fix is in on Bernie.
Yeah. It definitely is.
The establishment.
You see how the media is turning on him now.
Right. The establishment has already made the decision that they want crooked Joe Biden to be their candidate because he's easily controlled, and he's as crooked as they come. So he's very easy to control. And Bernie is surging. You know, we got the Iowa caucuses coming up, and Bernie's in the lead and in the lead nationally now. So I think the fix is in on Bernie by the DNC establishment.
Yeah, I think the fix is in. They're gonna. I'm really hoping that Bernie runs as a third party. I hope they keep the violence down to a minimum. Maybe just keep it at the DNC. But put on a good show. But I'd really like Bernie to run as an independent and split the Democrat vote. Last time, remember, a lot of the Bernie supporters went over to Trump.
Right. Yes, they did.
And I think a lot of them, and I think a lot of them will again go to Trump.
Yes.
The economy's doing good. They're doing great. They've moved out of their parents' basement.
Right. So they have a reason to vote for capitalism this time.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. I think it was Jesse Waters who said the other day that he was on an elevator in New York City, and three Bernie supporters got on the elevator with him, and they were talking about how they voted for Trump after they booted Bernie the first time in 2015, and they said they would definitely vote for Trump again and they expected that the same thing's going to happen to Bernie again this year.
Well, you know, Bernie Sanders is actually an independent. He just joined the Democrat Party to run for president. But he's really been an independent for years. And I hate to say anything good about Bernie, but he actually is good on a couple things. I mean, he's always been against the Federal Reserve, and he wants to audit the Fed. He's been anti-war. So I think in some ways he's a pretty decent guy. But obviously he's a communist and socialist to the core. And at least with Bernie, you know what you're getting because he's always been a communist. And, he went to the Soviet Union on his honeymoon. He's
on his honeymoon. Yeah, that sounds like a glorious time.
He was buddies with Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. So, I mean, he's an out-and-out communist. But
at least he's honest, though. At least he's telling you the truth. He's not trying to hide who he is.
Right.
You know, he doesn't know how he's going to, like an NBC reporter the other day was asking him, well, Bernie, how are you going to pay for all this? And he goes, I don't know. So we'll worry about that later. But at least he's honest.
He's honest with you. With Elizabeth Warren, you get nothing but lies.
Oh, yeah. Pocahontas, every week she's caught with another lie. It's just amazing. What a fraud. Trump said it best. He said, did you see that little info commercial she did while she's drinking a beer and her husband's, what are you doing here? Well, my gosh, he lives in the same house with you, Elizabeth.
She needs to take acting lessons. That's all I can say about Pocahontas.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, she's gone. She's history.
Yes.
I think it's going to be Biden or maybe the billionaire. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
So how many billionaires do they have running now? 2?
I think they've got 2, Tom Steyer and Mike Bloomberg. Not Michael, but Mike Bloomberg. Yes.
Yeah, Steyer, he's one that'll put you to sleep on.
Right. Yeah, it's funny to watch. Funny to watch.
Yeah.
Well, we're about out of time.
I think they might push Bloomberg. That's another.
You never know. He's an establishment Democrat. He's an anti-gunner. Right. He's a socialist, and he's got plenty of money. You never know. Bloomberg might be the establishment pick, but you got to know it's not going to be Bernie. And the Sanders people are not going to put up with it. I think if we made a prediction, there's going to be violence at the DNC this summer.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's going to be violence there, and And if Trump wins in November, there will be more violence.
It's going to be even worse, right? Well, this has been a great discussion. We've been talking about the resistance today. Richard, thanks for joining us for this edition of the Patriot Network. Remind our listeners about your Facebook page and the text number to volunteer for Team Trump.
Let me see if I misplaced my number for Team Trump. I should know it by heart. Here we go. Text Trump to 88022. That's Trump to 88022, and the Facebook page is the Patriot Nation.
Great. It's great to have you with us today, Richard. And friends,
it was a good time today, and I'm sure it'll be more laughs going through all the way to November.
I think there will be. We'll be bringing some of the funny things in our podcast, as well as some of the more serious issues as well.
It should be entertaining for the next 9 months.
Like a barrel of monkeys.
Exactly. What a clown show.
Yes. Well, friends, thanks for joining us for today's podcast. I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, this is David Schnitker. Thanks for listening.